Okay, so this is part two of the Aleister Crowley and Disneyland Disney connection to the sexual misery programs that have been instilled on our planet and are still active today due to monarch mind control and different mind control tactics that have been used for such a long time that they are finally being serviced in different ways. And so I'm going to continue reading a little bit more about Aleister Crowley, and then I'm going to get into a little bit about the moon chain and the sexual misery programs that have to do with the dark forces. All right? So as I continue to read from AscensionGlossary.com more on Aleister Crowley, you will have a better understanding of just how much he's influenced and the occult has influenced the entertainment industry and much of what Disney produces. It's taking a minute to load, so here it is. All right. So the sexual misery exploitation, the seducer archetype, is very energetically profitable siphon for a negative ego, controlled by the sexual addiction and hooked into the mass consciousness, sexual misery program, and belief systems. Aleister Crowley's main form of mind control programming, so that he would be hooked into the addiction webbing and controlled like an NAA puppet, was to exploit his seducer archetype into sexual misery. No, that was an earful to hear. Thus, he was developed into sexual deviant. He was not engaged in any form of sexual magic. Crowley was exploited as of a sex and drug addict that predictably could be easily led by his alien handlers. This seducer method is very successful in controlling human beings and to subservience and to feed the predator mind agenda. It is used often to manipulate and control both men and women into addiction and to their soul fragmentation. Now, if I could tell you what soul fragmentation, so the more soul fragmented and damaged an energetic person, an energetic body is operating, and more trauma that's been done to the body, and the more soul splitting happens, the more compartments of different personalities come through what they call alters. Some of them are purposely created, and some are accidentally created through just being at home in a traumatic environment. So the more distorted in the thoughts, the more distorted they are, the more thoughts become distorted, and the behaviors become more in alignment with this twisted behavior, just twisted in mindset. These deviations are manifested as addictions, perversions, and a wide array of damaging personality disorders or alternate identities that can be well observed in an individual as destructive to the self and destructive to others. When one is continually destructive towards self or others, eventually the soul matrix layers fragment and split. When the human being is soul split, they can exhibit mental confusion and tendencies that are called schizophrenia, dissociative personality, sociopathy, and lack of empathy, and an array of psychological distortions, and that potentially lead to insanity. See negative ego for stages of the pathology, which I can get into shortly. Insanity is a description of the existence of hell realms and is how the easily recognized possession through satanic anti-life behaviors that are controlled by a possessing entity, such as one of the collective thought forms of fallen angelics. Now, this is so important because anti-life is anti-Christ, anti-life is anti-human, and that's what most of these, if you really pay attention, the same pattern is all anti-human. It's anti-life. It's causing people to fall out of love, fall out of grace, fall out of their higher qualities. It causes people to do things out of lust, out of envy, out of greed, out of selfishness. Now, it's selfishness in some ways to me is a good thing, especially if you tend to give a lot all the time and get taken advantage of. Being selfish is sometimes okay. However, when you're constantly in the ego realm, you're acting out of these lower mind thought forms. And so they cause you to do things that you wouldn't normally do. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't take responsibility for your actions. What I'm saying is that there are outside influences and internal influences that do reign over this kingdom of Satan, Satan's kingdom that we are living in, unless you are connected to the Most High. Now, there were times when I was younger that I was not connected to creation. I was not connected. I was still very much lost in the realms of negative ego and perhaps whatever attachments were on me because of things in childhood. So, and then I'd have to get into my childhood and my family, and like that's something personal. But I can explain that in a different video and why I got more into this stuff. Okay, so when you stop this destructive behavior and danger that you put yourself in, you change your life around and you are acting out of your higher consciousness, which means that you're protecting your body, you're protecting your soul, your spirit, and your mind from imposters. And so the soul fragmentation causes a diseased body, which leads to being chose to continually inflict destruction and harm to the self and others. If continual destructive spirituality, abusive behavior is not stopped, spiritually abusive power is not stopped, or behavior, it will damage the soul through fragmentation and genetic degradation. Insanity is a way to define behaviors of soul destruction that which could ultimately disconnect the mind and body from the soul. So this is why people are walking around the earth with their souls missing from them. Like their behaviors, you're wondering how in the world would somebody, or why would somebody act this way? And it's because it's just like in all the movies of Disney, just like Once Upon a Time, just like, I can't think of the other one, but usually the theme is turning the heart black, the Anubian black heart, causing the heart to split from your tribe, which means that you don't feel connected to other people, you don't have empathy, you don't have compassion, and you have no ability to have higher consciousness, to act in ways that are more benevolent, more in alignment with source. Because when you're doing things that are out of the law of one, the law of that we are all connected and that we all have a cause and effect and it all affects each other. When we're acting out of those ways, then we're raising the vibration of the planet, but when we're not, we're doing the opposite. And so these behaviors cause the soul to split. It causes people to do things outside of their normal ways of being as when they were children. And so children are easily corruptible too, especially if there's trauma in the home. And so these forces know what type of people to go after because they're weak, because they're injecting themselves with different substances that cause them to go into lower vibrations. So, but that being said, severe soul damage, enslavement through mental fragmentation, and genetic biological destruction of an entire species is not a God-ordained energetic rebalancing of karmic power. Abuse is cause and effect from other lifetimes. However, in order to permanently heal these deviant behaviors, rampant in global society and individual level microcosmic blueprint experience, they also have to be corrected at the planetary macrocosm blueprint level of experience. So fragmentation can cause so many things, and this is why they create SRA, the satanic ritual abuse within these high bloodline royal families and even lower ones that are in the entertainment industry. These parents are usually parents that are in covens, that are high-level occultists, bad witches, so to say. They practice black magic to get what they want. They work with the elements to conjure up what they want, and they give their children to these monarch mind control programs, especially in the industry, because these are the children that will grow up in Disney, that will lead all the other children down hell, honestly. And I know this because I've experienced it, and it's been really hard to get into normal relationships and express, and it's scary because the people who don't see it are judgmental, and they think that there's something wrong with you. And so it's important that we get this out there, that there are people who are being held against their will. It's almost like there's chains, invisible chains on their wrists, just like in Egypt, just like in their legs, and there's bondage being created. And so it's just so, it's so heartbreaking because I see it in so many different women, and I see it in the men today, and it breaks my heart that men are being taught that all women are horrible whores, and that just because they have a past and they've been with other people that that it's all their fault. You know, we are programmable, and like, especially if you did grow up in LA, in the California area, especially all of the United States, this program has been injected into our consciousness for years. And I'm not saying this so I can just knock off my behavior. My behavior was influenced by these outside forces, but I still take responsibility, because that's the way I'm going to be free, is if I take responsibility and own my mind power. And that way nobody's controlling my mind, because when I'm in a weak state, I let others control me, especially through my sexuality. So we have to learn to break apart from these different things. And I know that I had symptoms of being dissociative, the dissociative disorder and intimacy disorder, that I lacked intimacy, the ability to do so. And also the soul fragmentation, it causes you to dissociate from yourself in a way where, like, you kind of hate yourself. Like, you don't even know what you like and what you don't like. In some ways it's all meshed up together, and you are just so enraptured in it that you don't know how to get out. And I can imagine what people go through in the higher levels of this mind control crap. And I wish there were words that I could use that would help you understand that these words are just words. What I mean by that is that our words, like mind control and things like that, like, these are words that people have already been taught to reject. And so when you hear them, I want you to just, like, at least, you know, have an open mind and realize that we are still living in the same exact earth that has been here, and people still use magic. There's still spells being done on the world, and unless you're willing to see that, then you're just always going to be a byproduct of that. And yeah, your life can be great and everything. You think you have everything that you want, but your soul is being damaged. Your spirit is being damaged, and you're never going to know the true, you know, the true creative, like the true creator of life, you know, because there are all these different shows coming out teaching us that demonic behavior is okay, that it's very sick and twisted. And unless you have eyes to see and ears to hear, you will not be able to do those things. You will not be able to hear or sense or feel, because your senses have been dumbed down. And we are in the rising of something so spectacular here, is that there's many people who are coming out against all this stuff and speaking. Now, when I get back to Disney, I get back to bringing the fact up that L. Ron Hubbard, creator of Scientology, a really bad person all in all. L. Ron Hubbard is, if you look him up, his story is crazy. Who else? Like I said, Walt Disney, 33rd degree Freemason, friends with Aleister Crowley, Anton LaVey, wrote the book of Satanism, and they all worship the inverted pentagram, which is the black tree of life, which is going into materialism. And so when I say materialism, we have to understand that everything in this physical universe is materialism. It's what matters. It is matter, right? And so I'm not saying that having material things is a bad thing. It's actually a beautiful thing, and that's part of the big lie, is that because you're spiritual, you shouldn't want materials, or you probably will be stuck in that poverty mindset for so long until you learn to realize that you have the ability to manifest whatever you want as well. And materials are a beautiful thing. However, manifesting through the material world and taking and using your powers against other people for personal gain is wrong. And so that's why I'm bringing this up. And like, it's not even about what you do as a career or what you do to make money. It's more what you're doing to your soul as a whole, you know? So I'm going to finish reading a little more. So in satanic ritual abuse, the rape, torture, and killing of animals or human for a purpose of collecting the loosh produced during the blood sacrifice event, and to bind the energy with the attachments, which can be fed upon by black hole entities. They form attachments from the negative energy they consume, and to the fragments that make up the consciousness of that person. Many of these negative entities consume negative emotional energy, enable to present or enable to their presence in the multidimensional layers of the earth field. Because their vibrational incompatibility with human frequency levels, they must rely on consuming loosh for their existence. Loosh is the term applied to energy produced by the human beings and animals that other entities use to feed from. It is also used to refer to the energy that is produced by suffering entities that feed. From the books of Robert Monroe, maybe a play on the French word loucher. So, one moment, please. I'm going to search. I want to search the moon chains. So, moon chain beings are soulless beings like the Greys and Zetas that have been cloned and used by Anunnaki Draconian and whom have placed these beings as workers on various planets. Moonchain races are part of the refugee races that came from exploding planets in our solar system. A lot of them are responsible for the ones creating the sexual misery. They're the ones who got into that compromised Aleister Crowley when he was doing drugs because he's an easy target. He already had influence. And then it moved on to Hitler. We all know that Hitler has a connection to these extraterrestrial beings or these refugee races like the Anunnakis, the Draconians, and the Greys, and the Reptilians. These different species have been known to control others. It's already written in all types of books and all types of research written on the web. You can look it up yourself. And so the moon chains get back to how they use Crowley to have him influence many people. And he influenced many people to using their children in these occult rituals. He also created a book and wrote the book called Moonchild, which is a conjuring up, doing a ritual through sex magic with women to get them to birth a special magical child. And that is something I can relate to and talk about as well. So I will not give all the power to these people and these beings, these deities, or these, not deities, but these demons in a sense that control a lot of the earth. I won't give all the power to them because there's nothing that is done here that the Most High does not know, or that our Father and Earthly Mother do not know. However, I believe that we're in a cycle, and we did go through the Dark Ages. Now we're in the Age of Aquarius. The information and light is being given to the people with ears to hear, and they are receiving this information. They're also taking on themselves to research, to learn, to have answers. Some people begin really waking up. They know who to go to. They know who they can trust, and now is the time that it is really important. There's going to be a lot of people, and there are a lot of people rising up with all the answers to what's going on, and it's just not about taking everything that you hear as the truth. I mean, it's really just listening and taking a little bit and writing notes, and over time having your own answers. But since I've been researching this for years, I found some of the best research available on the web that can show and prove that there were these ritualistic practices taking place through sex, through magic, that they were creating different breeds of children that can actually pass down genetic information like the monarch butterfly, hence monarch mind control programming. So these people will have soul fragmentations. They will have a lot of issues growing up, and it will be really hard for them to get out of it unless their mind is very strong and powerful and they do not do drugs and limit their amount of alcohol. So I know this because when I was younger and I was messing around with drugs, it was fun while I was doing it, and then by the time I was coming down, I just felt like I was being attacked. I was being very attacked. Like, it just made me feel so bad about myself, and then I would just do it again, you know. So it was like a trap, and I just believe that the people who usually introduce you to drugs or get you on them are compromised, and are just, like I said, like it says, misery loves company. And so the sexual misery loves company, and like the perversions of things is all wrapped up and all this tied together. And I'm saying this because our children, the children of the world, are addicted to Disney. I know a lot of adults who are addicted to Disney and love it. And like I said, I appreciate the people who put their time and effort to create It's just unfortunate that they're using their creative abilities and they're being used to fulfill a project that started a long time ago. Okay, so in any story, you know, there's always some type of magic in there, but yet why does the Bible teach us that I'm not sure about the Bible or where it comes from, but I know that certain churches go against, and they're totally against using any form of magic. And to them, magic is like, you know, using tarots or like anything of divination. And to me, that's like unfair, because we have a birthright to know who we are. We are divine, intelligent beings that have been manifesting. Some of you are clones. Some of you are just interbred in families for purposes of passing down whatever you have to pass down. Some people are born out of pure love. And but the real human, the real heart and soul of a human is so beautiful, and it's so naive and gullible. And so that's why we are easily preyed upon. And this is why it does say, in order to enter the kingdom of heaven, you must be like a child. And I think that's why they pervert the children, and that they are leading these children astray in so many different ways. So I just noticed that the stuff they do in movies with children is just like really a child experiencing that trauma. It's real for them. And there's been plenty of people who have came out and talked about the real abuse that goes on in Hollywood. And you get blacklisted if you talk about this stuff. You're not supposed to. You sell part of yourself, which is you're silencing yourself and the truth in order to gain personal status within the community of the elitists and celebrities. But I mean, the real bloodlines that fund all this shit don't care about the celebrities. Like, they're nothing. You give them some money, whatever. It's like taking people off the street that have no form of education, which means education as in spiritual education or anything that is uplifting to make yourself better, to expand yourself, whether it's like with English or mathematics or being involved in something that helps you become an expanded version of yourself. They take people that have no background in any of that stuff, and they have a good voice, or they think they can act, and they put them there because they'll do anything to get ahead. They have no morals. They have no, they come from backgrounds that are all messed up. And so these people are easily manipulated and controlled and asked to do all kinds of things in order to remain in this system that protects them, so long as they do what they want. And unfortunately, most of them were brought up this way in families like Miley Cyrus, Selena Gomez, Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, Justin Timberlake. And yes, they have choices. They have beautiful talents. It's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that be aware of what's behind that, what created that, and why all these people are having breakdowns. And you see more women in the industry having breakdowns than men. I'm not going to be too rude about that or like, argue too much about it, but it's true, because they favor the men in the industry because they're taught to treat a woman a certain way, because they know if you repress the woman, you separate the household, you have women acting out their behavior, they're not nourishing the earth, they're not nourishing themselves, they're not nourishing the men, they're not being true priestesses or queens, so to say, the women who are here to show men how to really be men. And I'm guilty of that, because like giving yourself away to a man who's not earned it, who has not shown you that he's worthy of you giving your body to them, you give it to them, and they just keep raking up your energy. They're just stacking up, and they stay young, taking the energy of your energy, your creative energy, and then you're supposed to get something in return. He's supposed to give you, food, and you make a meal. He gives you seed, you give a child, so it's a give and take. And so when that sexual misery is all messed up, then we're not creating the right way. The Hyros Gamos, the sacred union of male and female coming together, is broken. I have plenty of friends who are male and males together, females and females. I think we're at the point in history where we're not supposed to judge each other, but it does affect us, and it does halt our ability to be in sacredness, because those two energies are meant to balance each other. And when you have too much of these together and too much of those together, and it's not normal. And I could get penalized for people for that, but you know what? Sometimes things need to be said in order to clear the air, because I don't know, I just feel like everybody's been led astray. We're all in a trance. We're all in hypnosis. and I'm a certified clinical hypnotherapist, and I have studied the mind for years, and there's some powerful stuff hidden within the realms of our consciousness, and we can't remember these things because we've been conditioned to not know, and we've been conditioned. Our alphabet, the American language especially, has been encrypted with codes that are used as trigger words to confuse us. A lot of the words are split words that have multiple meanings that trap us in matter. And so these are all separate individual stories, and I know I'm kind of all over the place, but it's because these theories, these ideas are just being put out there for you to just take back your power and know that there's a spell put on us, and you're only going to get pieces of it in movies by people who have money, but they never want to fully tell you the story. They're just interested in making money, how they can make money off of you and get ahead. But in the long run, it's just, we're going to get there anyway. Someday we're going to get there where we've been promised for so long that there will be a light at the end of there will be a light there for us. There will be some treasure at the end of the rainbow. I just feel like we have to remain strong in our faith that we are a part of something much bigger, and no matter what programs are used to destroy us and cause us to hate ourselves and cause us to be anti-human, we have to realize that we have a right to be human. We have a right to be here, and we're all different for a reason. And the more they try to teach us that there's some perfect way of being, it's confusing, and it's actually disgusting, and it's sad because it just really is. It really is sad, and I want the world to know what's going on and how they can get involved. So I guess I'll read a little more from here. So the moon chain lineages are also cast-offs from other cycles of evolution between multiple planets in our solar system. The moon chain lineages have been directly involved both karmically and technologically with supposedly and purposely creating the sexual misery program and human race during the Dark Age. The Dark Age wasn't that long ago, might I add you, because do the astrology, like it wasn't that long ago. And our parents, like from my generation's parents, basically were at the end cycles of the Dark Ages. The sexual misery program is to distort, manipulate, and abuse the sexual energies, therefore spiritual energies, and human beings incarnated on this planet. The Baphomet fields are intricately involved in all deceptions and trickery relating to seducer-type archetypes, which promote sexual misery programs. Okay, so, and just so you know, like I said, Aleister Crowley wrote the book Moonchild, which is an awesome thing to talk about because I find it fascinating. When I just mentioned Baphomet is, like I said, he is the archetype of Baphomet. I don't know if it's he or she or both being, but that's what runs the music industry, the entertainment industry, and that's who they are basically worshiping. And so then there's Moloch, the demon Moloch, and he is this. I'm not saying he. I don't really know if it's what kind of gender it is, but that demon is mostly related to sexual misery programs and misogyny on the planet, which is the hatred of women, which I believe is also tied into Starrlanna. And then also there's the Baal and Beelzebub, which is Beelzebub is like the Lord of the Flies, so to say, the one that is known for like the candy culture and pastel colors. You know, like a lot of these artists are now like doing videos and with the pastel colors and like throwing up pastel, and it's just like popping mollies and all this stuff. And this is all something that they do. Like I believe that the gluttony and Beelzebub has to do with the candy, something about giving candy to children and luring them in that way. And then there's also the idea of like the candy culture. If you look around, there's always candy, and that's how they lure children in. There's also like entities and parasites that attach themselves to you, but it's just basically the corruption of women and the goddess. Because when you corrupt women and you corrupt their ability to nurture the home or even want to be home, then it poisons things from there. And I think that when they say that women are to blame for a lot of the problems, I do half-heartedly believe that, because in the beginning, I believe it was matriarchal society. We lived in a matriarchal environment, and then the patriarchal society ruled, and after that. And so, because now we're coming back into the divine feminine and the roles of the rising Sophia and Christos and the bride meeting the groom and all these things, has to do with the feminine energy archetype waking up in everyone, the nurturer, the loving kindness, the justice that that the planet is going through, the earth is going through in this ascension cycle. And so when we look at the fall of like the woman in the home, because of the abuse that took place, she didn't want to be home anymore. And so and before, there wasn't really a way to stop from having children with men that were abusing you. So you were kind of stuck in the home. And then there was also women who were just using their black magic and seducing men. And so I think that some of the men, especially Crowley, a lot of these, L. Ron Hubbard, I think a lot of them had really destroyed relationships with their mother. And you have to understand the energy of the planet. It was purposely made that way. So the women would be in the harlot, in the scarlet woman energy, which means that they are like more in trouble. They're more troubled, and when they have children, the young boys watch their behavior and it makes them crazy. And so it's all part of this cycle, right? And that makes sense why we have Trump as a president right now, because we're in the cycle that we're in. It wouldn't have worked any other way. So we have Trump because he represents sexist. He represents the white man that we don't like in so many different ways, but it's all a game. It's all a puppet player. It's all to cause an uproar in our energy field so they can suck that energy from us. It happens in all major events. It's just how they bundle up our energy in one place and they can suck it dry. When I say they, hell if I know. I don't know how many of them there are. I don't know who exactly they are. I just know that there are multiple refugee races. A lot of them from Orion. There were the Orion Wars. There were wars up in the skies. There's been wars over the planet and over humankind for a long time. There's a black market for our body parts. I mean, this can go on and on and on. My goal here, like I said, not to scare you, not to make you not want to have fun in life anymore. It's really just so you can understand how deep this stuff is. Because, I mean, we can stop it in some ways, but it just takes people wanting to talk about it. And if you don't want to talk about it, then I mean, I guess we deserve it. You know, we deserve it because we're not willing to do the work. We're not willing to find out how to get out of it. We must like it. And don't be wrong, like I still get caught up in the misery programs, and I see it in so many people that they're just victims to the victimization program, the software of being broken, you know? So what I'd like to do is I'd like to call back in all of our used body parts, all of the soul fragments, all the pieces that have been given out to those who take advantage and have no care in the world of what happens to you as a being, as a soul. But I also know that if you look at it in some ways, we are here playing out roles that are caused, and some things have to be in duality and pain so we can grow. And so I do think that in another way we have destiny, and then we have free will. We also have a blueprint, and I think that we have a divine blueprint that is set to with a certain amount of events that happen to cause an expansion. And then there's also things that have been set up to get in our way to stop that. And so I think really that's what it means, like coming into your power is really just realizing that you can create, that you can design what you like. You just have to be aware of what you're creating and what you're getting involved in, because you give your power away to different entities and beings and demons all the time because of advertisements and what you're being subjected to. So yes, we have the blueprint. Yes, we have destiny, but we also have interactions with bad stuff. So in the end of this video, I just want to say that if you have questions, you feel free to just write them in there, and I can give you sources. I'm happy to work with anybody who it just wants to talk about this, who wants to do interviews and discuss this stuff, because I've got loads of information in here, and I'm in the most uncorrupted and the most chaotic way. I want to talk about it and remove the fear blockages, remove the implants that have been given to us. Little by little, one person at a time, we are all waking up, and we are going to be like laughing that we even let half this stuff happen. But it is what it is, right? But what is it? What is it? All right. So you have a good one.